Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Larry Lavine.
So they come in, these motherfuckers, and they recharge you, and they give you a whole brand new indictment, and they add in some co-defendants. And if you thought you were before, you're really right now.
Yeah,
And
but so
that's,
listen, if
yeah,
he say he did give cooperation and
maybe he
whatnot,
did.
if the people that he cooperated against, if he cooperated against some people, if they pled guilty, he would not have to testify in that case. Am I right?
Unless they held an evidentiary hearing and they were trying to give them enhancements. One of the clauses in a 5K1 and in a Rule 35 that the government, the prosecutor, can subpoena you to have you testify about certain things that you know. The defendant, let's call Zito the defendant here. That's what he is. The other person in the other potential case, they'll never know that Zito testified against them because Zito will be listed in the paperwork as CS1, which is cooperating source, or CI, which is cooperating informant, number one. And that's all it will say. I mean, if I look at my own case when I got charged, and I'm reading through all this, and I'm reading through the indictment, it didn't say my snitch in there. It said CS1, CS2. But I looked at the events that took place, and obviously about 3 minutes later, I knew who CS1 and CS2 was.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, in my book, this is really funny. In my book, Prison Politics 101, and in my other book, Crimes That Never Happened, Beating Federal Conspiracies, I call out my informant, you dirty. I list him by name, Gary Robert Perro, born 5/2, 52. You rat mother. I know what he did, okay? And I don't mind saying his name because he's a piece of. That's his moment of fame right there. But generally, you will not know. You may know by looking at the events, but it's not going to come out on paper. This guy's a rat. It will not.
Now, why would they seal a case? So
because there's other information in. All right. Gary came to court. I pled guilty. I knew I was already. I mean, I sold directly to the DEA 4 times. An ounce, a pound, then 2 pounds. How do you defend that? You can't. It's a done deal. Well, this sucker still showed up at my sentencing to try to bend me over and fuck me more. So who knows? You know? What was your question? My mind is slipping.
Why would they seal his case after?
Okay. It's like the statement of reasons in everybody's docket, in every criminal case, because there's certain information in there that's not a matter of public record. You don't know. I don't know who else Zito gave up, potentially. There's names in there. There may have been cases after he was sentenced and charged that people became the subjects of an investigation.
Because of possibly from what he said, right?
Potentially, that we don't even know about. The people may not even know about. In other words, let's say you're on your merry way and you're committing all these crimes, and the Fed, they don't have any clue you're doing it. Some sucker comes in and gets a 35 or a 5K1, and they go, aha. Well, now we've developed information that we didn't potentially know. All right, you just gave us something of value. So we're going to give you something. So they will then investigate this other person over the next 2, 3, 4 years, potentially trying to get them in something called a CCE. Do you know what that is?
No.
I should come on your show all the time. It stands for Continuing Criminal Enterprise. So in other words, they know that you're committing crimes, and they'll let you continue to commit crimes so they can enhance your sentence, and they'll like do surveillance and all this shit, and they want to see who you're doing shit with. And then when they've got enough on you and they could really take you up the ass, then they'll reach out to you and they'll arrest you, and they'll present, this is what we know. We need you to give these people up.
And
So,
then
boom.
this guy would never have to cooperate. The guy that gave the first information would never have to even be exposed on who he is or anything.
Potentially.
Right?
But, okay, so this is like wash and rinse. They're piggybacking. So, defendant number one gets a Rule 35. He gives up information. He gets a reduction in sentence. He goes in. The second person that he told on, 2-3 years later, they charge this motherfucker. Finally, they build enough evidence on him to charge him, okay? They bring him in and they question him. They leave him out there to continue his crime, to gather information on a third person. He's going to get a Rule 35 or potentially a 5K1 at that point because he hasn't been sentenced. Then they go after the third person. Do you see how that the whole system here, Bill? It's all based on informants. Yeah. It's all based on rats. If nobody told on anybody, the system would fall apart. It's kind of like my prosecutor. And I told this guy in open court, I thought he was an asshole. I was already. So what difference would it make? This said, Mr. Lavine. And I'm like, I'm looking around the room. He goes, what are you looking for? I said, who is Mr. Lavine? I didn't even know my own name, you know? I was already, what are you going to do?
So without informants, would they have even got you at all?
I wasn't on any people's radar. Yeah, I'm guilty as sin. I'm like the poster boy for a guilty person. Narcotics trafficking, securities fraud, racketeering, that's a pattern of criminal activities, obstruction of justice, distribution of automatic weapons. I mean, potentially I probably would have hit somebody's radar. I was under investigation by the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, the Secret Service, and the Boy Scouts of America. No, I'm joking. I don't know. When I got arrested, this is funny. I mean, I've been on your show. I mean, a long time ago. I ever told you the story of my arrest?
Yeah, in the parking lot, right?
Yeah, the parking lot. These suckers came out of everywhere, okay? FBI, DEA, Marshals, Secret Service, ATF, some other agencies I've never heard of. They swarm you. They try to scare you, and I just stood there looking around. I'm like, really? Put your hands in the air. I don't put my hands in the air. I don't know who these people are. Could be somebody trying to jack my ass. But the feds will you eventually. You will be on somebody's radar, and somebody will trade you off.
With this video that I'm showing you, people said that they don't think he wanted this information to come out. But if you see how Vlad is asking him the questions, he's like, wait,
hold on, Bill. He probably didn't want it to come out. Who wants to publicly be labeled an informant? Okay, unless you're like extra stupid or something. Nobody wants to be labeled an informant. I got people that go into custody, and I know they got 5K1s. And I tell them, because they tell me how much time they got. It's like the guy that has 10 kilos of cocaine, and he got like a 3-year sentence. I go, really? I go, well, how did that happen? Oh, the judge was feeling nice today. I go, really? The judge was feeling nice? Well, maybe the judge will send his wife to come over and suck your too at the same time. You know. You look at the crime, you look at the quantity of product, you look at the sentence, you know the person is a fucking rat. And I tell them, look, I'm not here to pass judgment on you. You did what you did. But if I were you, I would not discuss my sentence and the quantity of my drugs with anyone. Because somebody on the inside, they're going to take fucking, you know what I mean?
Offense to that. Yeah.
Offense. They're going to take offense with that. So you need to just keep your mouth shut. I was just on Crime News Daily or something. Did you see that TV appearance I did the other day?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember what I said at the very end? People are their own worst enemies because people run their mouth like it's a toilet.
And it turned out to be a Rule 35, a Rule 35, a Rule 35, a Rule 35.
I would say in all likelihood, he provided some information, something of value to get a sentence reduction. Maybe,
Tell me,
you know
tell
what?
me,
It may have been, well, hold on.
yeah.
It may have been something they already knew. They just wanted him to verify it. That happens too. It's possible.
And they said, we'll lower your sentence. And he said, all right, yeah.
Well, that's, you think anybody does a Rule 35? The 5K one is called a kizzle. People kizzled out. You think somebody wants to get a rat jacket for nothing?
Yeah, but so someone tried to explain it away and say it's a Rule 35A or a B, you know, the medical one.
Yeah, you tell these people to come over and suck my. If it's a medical reduction, okay, that's a 5K2 or a 5K3. This is the whole problem, Bill. People don't read, and people, they'll read it, okay, but they don't understand what it is they're reading. Why do you think that CNN or whoever, Fox News, brings me on? Because they know I know this. I know this better than the lawyers.